Welcome to Tax File. I am your host, Laurie Bala Hassan, and we've got vibrant lineup for you today. We are kicking off this episode with the latest tax news. Then, in our Did You Know segment, we'll share some surprising tax facts that might just catch you off guard. Next up is Vox Pop, where we hear your views on the streets. We'll unpack those views in the knowledge zone, giving you context and clarity. In Professional Insights, our experts break down the issues and offer practical guidance. And finally, in What's on the Net, we respond to your comments and questions from our social media handles. Let's dive in. And now, the news. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has unveiled plans to implement a real-time digital tracking system to combat illicit financial flows and strengthen Nigeria's revenue base. Speaking at the National Conference on Illicit Financial Flows and Domestic Resource Mobilization in Abuja, FIRS Chairman Zak Adedeji said the initiative would leverage data analytics and digital enforcement tools to monitor financial transactions as they occur. Evelyn Shija reports.
The digital system will be backed by recent legislative reforms signed into law by President Bola Tinubu, aimed at improving tax administration and fiscal transparency. Nigeria is estimated to lose up to $18 billion annually to illicit financial activities.
It is my honor to welcome you to this national conference on illicit financial flows. The theme, Combating Illicit Financial Flows, Strengthening Nigeria Domestic Resource Mobilization, captures one of the most critical challenges facing our economy today: the urgent need to safeguard our national resources and build a resilient, equitable future. Illicit financial flows through tax evasion, profit shifting, money laundering, and trade misinvoicing do not merely represent financial wrongdoing. They constitute a structural drain on our economy, depriving us of the resources needed for inclusive development.
Adedeji noted that technology alone is not enough and emphasized the importance of coordinated enforcement through collaboration with Central Bank of Nigeria, EFCC, NFIU, Customs, and other key agencies. The goal, he said, is to create a unified and transparent financial ecosystem.
And the Federal Inland Revenue Service has held its 2025 Emerging Taxpayers Group ETG Tax Clinic in Lagos, attracting hundreds of small business owners, entrepreneurs, and informal sector players, themed Tax Clinic for Tax Clarity. The event offered practical support through expert presentations, panel discussions, and interactive advisory desks aimed at simplifying tax compliance. Aisha Abdulkader has the reports.
In his opening remarks, FIRS Executive Chairman Dr. Zak Adedeji emphasized the service's shift from enforcement to proactive engagement, stating that when citizens understand their tax obligations and the impact of their contributions, compliance becomes a civic duty. The clinic aligns with FIRS' ongoing reforms to build a people-centered revenue system, including the use of digital tools like Tax Promax and tax pay segmentation.
Meanwhile, the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Dr. Zak Adedeji, participated as a discussant at the Domestic Investor Summit 2025, hosted by the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. The summit was held under the theme Operationalizing the Nigeria First policy. Saama Chido reports.
In his remarks, Dr. Adedeji reiterated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to a business-friendly tax environment, highlighting the administration's plan to reduce Nigeria's 63 formal and informal taxes to a simplified single-digit regime. He stressed that the government aims to tax prosperity, not poverty, and focus on taxing returns rather than investment. The ECFIRS assured stakeholders that the newly enacted tax laws are geared towards economic growth. By streamlining tax administration, he noted that the reforms will lower compliance costs and enhance efficiency in revenue collection.
And what I call earmark taxes are the taxes you collect for specific purpose. For example, you have education tax, you have police trust, you have NASENI, you have NITDA. Now, today, you have up to like 7 of them. If you don't put an end to that, what that means that in the future, because soon you will have another one incubator, you have many other things. Before you know it, all 100% of the tax will have been appropriated in such a way that it will become this incentive for anybody to actually establish business. So today, with new law, we put end to all those ones. There are now sunset that you only have certain percentage, which today is 4%, and that is where all related earmark taxes will be appropriated from. Now you have Nigerian Revenue, which is premier agency that will administer all these taxes. And when I use the word administer, because some may decide, state, this is yours, go collect. That is administration. Some you say it's this one, go collect. So you won't have multiple agencies throwing into the office of all our investors. And last one is joint tax board, because we have federal, we have a federal sector, states and local government. So when you have district, or how will you do it? So you have joint tax that will harmonize that. So if you look at from the structure, we simplify and then we remove all those bodies of compliance from business, from individual. So when you look at it, this conception of increasing the tax, is not well established, because that is not our focus. Our focus is actually to remove hurdles before businesses so that they can do well, because in their prosperity that our prosperity lies.
Let's now join Mariam on the Vox Pop segment.
Hello and welcome to the segment. My name is Mariam Julia Dura. Today, we're back on the streets to find out what people know about the windfall tax. Come along with me. We're here to find out from you what windfall tax means.
Windfall tax means a tax imposed by the government on specialized businesses for their unrealized gains or excessive gains realized from them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are the rates?
The rate is 70% imposed by the government on them.
We want to find out from you, sir, what windfall tax is.
Windfall tax is a one-time tax that government levied on company, basically not because of their existing, but because of the extra profit that they made. So government is targeting because due to distribution of social amenities, improving the basics of social activities in societies.
A windfall tax is a special tax that is imposed on companies or individuals that make unexpected high profits, such as sudden rise in oil prices or gains from foreign exchange differences.
A windfall tax is a tax or a levy that is imposed on realized gains from all foreign currency transactions of banks operating within Nigeria. The rate of the tax as at now is 70% from all gains realized on foreign currency transactions by banks within the 2023 to 2025 financial year. And the FRS is saddled with the responsibility to assess, collect, administer the tax in line with the powers of the service under the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act.
Did you know windfall taxes are imposed to redistribute excess profits generated by a few entities due to favorable but unforeseen circumstances? For more information, visit www.firs.gov.ng.
Ashu Abe takes us on the Knowledge Zone.
Hello and welcome to Knowledge Zone, where we dive deeper into interesting conversations had on the streets. I remain your host, Ashu Abe. Today, let's talk about windfall tax. Just a little history on windfall tax. On the 17th of July 2024, the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, through a letter and an executive bill to the Nigerian Senate, one of the arms of the National Assembly, requested an amendment to the Finance Act 2023 via the Finance Bill 2024. This bill seeks to introduce a one-time windfall tax at a rate of 50% on foreign exchange gains realized by banks in their 2023 financial statements. In his letter, the President explained that the revenue from this tax will be allocated to funding capital infrastructure, education, healthcare access, and public welfare initiatives. The primary rationale for imposing the windfall tax on Nigerian banks arises from substantial foreign exchange gains these institutions have realized due to depreciation of the naira. Putting things in context, the Central Bank of Nigeria introduced reforms that devalued the naira, resulting in significant profit increases for banks holding considerable foreign exchange reserves or engaging in foreign exchange transactions. On 23rd of July 2024, the Senate passed this bill into law, albeit increasing the tax rate to a significant 70%. The concept of a windfall tax is not new and has been implemented by various countries over time. Windfall taxes are temporary levies imposed on companies or industries that experienced unexpected high profits, often due to external factors, such as market fluctuations or government policies. Typically, windfall taxes are imposed to redistribute excess profits generated by a few entities due to favorable but unforeseen circumstances, thereby promoting economic balance.
And now to our Professional Insight segment.
My role as Chief Economic Advisor to the Executive Chairman of FIRS focuses entirely on translating economic analysis and forecasting into actionable strategies that really improve Nigeria's tax revenue performance. And this starts with building an econometric model that really anticipates macroeconomic trends, monitors global economic development, and identify potential opportunities for improving the Nigerian revenue system. My work is entirely based on analytics, data analytics. We rely heavily on high-frequency data of the economy to try and align it with the fundamentals or the economic priorities of the government, as well as the strategic objectives of FIRS. So that by the time we do our forecasting, the findings from those forecasting will be data-driven in the sense that it is based on fact, not on intuition or on hearsay. As you know, being Chief Economic Advisor to the Chairman, and the Chairman is also the Chairman of the Management Committee. So whatever work we have done in my office, we tend to channel the findings of that work to the Chairman, who then shares it with the management team. And the idea about that is that the recommendations that we give to them based on our analysis, will now enable them to really scrutinize or really look at the current policy and how they can easily improve upon that. And our analysis and report to the chairman or the management is based on policy briefs, which we have now done about 4 for this year. And the recommendation from these policy briefs go to the chairman and the management, and they try and use the outcomes from our policy findings to improve the decision-making system. Now, this year we started stakeholder engagement with state tax coordinators and business associations. We have been to Kano. Last week I was in Lagos. We had stakeholder engagement with the tax officials in Ikeja. Then we moved to Victoria Island, Ikoyi, Surulere. And the idea is for us to understand what exactly they are doing. Are they achieving their targets? What are the challenges that they face in the course of executing their own work? Because if officials that really handle our tax administration are not happy, or they are facing a number of challenges that act as cog in the wheel of their progress, we will not be able to achieve our targets. So the idea about going out and be talking with them is very, very insightful, because it enables us gain insights and also to understand their own reality. And once we model those what we call focus group discussions into our model, we can now come up with something that will enable us to improve the tax system, improve compliance, and also come up with a fairer, transparent, and well-organized tax administration system. There are several examples that I can give, but one that strikes me is the one that came up from the recent imposition of tariffs by the US government on countries around the world. Nigeria, for example, as you may know, the US government announced a 14% increase in tariffs on goods coming from Nigeria to the United States. And there are tariffs on so many countries, which will now have spillover on Nigeria. So our analysis of that particular situation enabled us to provide recommendations to the chairman, and they have now utilized some of those recommendations in the day-to-day decision-making process of the government by trying to ensure that government has engaged proactively in terms of identifying alternative sources of trading partners. So over-reliance on US may be dangerous. So what are the other options? For example, China, India, Asia, and other countries that we can now explore bilateral trade relationship, and also the possibility of exploring multilateral trade negotiations through the WTO, World Trade Organization, rather than relying on countries that are supposed to be unreliable in our dealing. So that has been taken on board. And also, one of the recommendations is that instead of engaging the US on a controversial tariff retaliation, for us, there is no need for Nigerian government to retaliate. We should just engage in dialogue. And dialogue through either other countries or multilateralism will enable to give us a best outcome, rather than to get the wrath of or to be at the whipping end of the United States, which may not be good for our country. So such recommendations have been very useful, and the country has been doing that. The other one is a report that we have done on improving the revenue performance of Nigeria. through forecasting. So we forecasted 9 different types of revenues, tax revenue, petroleum profit tax, company income tax, VAT, and so on and so forth. And we were able, through our forecasting modeling, we were able to identify loops and gaps in terms of sectors that were under tax, sectors that will be able to now imagine tax sectors that will now generate more taxes. And these recommendations are now gaining traction and is going to be more included in policy formulation and implementation in the FIRS, and also will help to generate economic growth for the country. Our economic analysis and forecasting is based on the experiences of the Nigerian economy. It is based on macroeconomic fundamentals in Nigeria. It's based on the analysis of gross domestic product, which is GDP, inflation, interest rate. So in essence, it's not just only based on the data or the analysis of the FIRS, but the Nigerian economy as a whole. Both fiscal and monetary policy variable that we model. This is because tax revenue is not an end to itself, but is a means to promoting economic growth and development in the country. Because it is with this tax revenue that the government executes its own expenditure and development plans. So in essence, even though we are forecasting revenue performance of the FIRS, but that forecasting is grounded in theorizing based on data of the entire economy. So as a result of our analysis, the findings will go along in promoting sustainable economic growth and development, as well as macroeconomic stability.
Over to Swateku for what's on the net.
Good day and welcome to What's on the Net. At Ernest_Owele is asking, Dear FIRS, do you now collect tax from private schools through the proprietors? Because some private schools in Abuja are now deducting money from their teachers in the name of FIRS. At Ernest_Owele, FIRS does have a system in place for tax collection, but not for pay as you earn. The State Internal Revenue Services are the tax authorities responsible for assessing, collecting and remitting tax deducted from salaries of staff to state governments of the staff residents. Yes, there was a recent controversy about a 5% tax imposed on private schools in Abuja, but this is not coming from FIRS and has nothing to do with the FIRS. At SK, Prince is asking, please, I need my plastic tax identity card based in Lagos. I'm looking forward to hear from you. At SK Prince, the Joint Tax Board issues the Plastic Taxpayers Identification Number card for individuals across Nigeria. If your card is registered in Lagos, you don't need to visit in person. Simply contact the TIN branch office in Lagos through their official phone line or email. Once verified, they can send your plastic TIN card straight to you via courier. Stay compliant, stay connected, and make sure your tax identity is in order.
Thank you, Swat, for that beautiful segment. And that's a wrap on this episode of Tax File. I hope you are living with new knowledge and a sharper understanding of the tax world. The conversation continues online. Follow us and join the discussion. Until next time, I am Lowry Bala Hassan. Stay curious, stay compliant, and keep watching Tax File. FIRS, simplifying tax, maximizing revenue.